type of space and what they're doing, and to be recognized, not just included, but to walk away. But Trayvon Free's one of the best dudes in the game.
I was going to say, great guy,
one
talented.
of the best dudes in the game. So I'm glad they paired with him and they can pull this off.
This is a big accomplishment. Kobe started it, now these guys are doing it. Everybody's getting involved. So, Richard, when we doing something, man, we're going to collab and do something, man. Let's talk about this right now.
When's the Oscar film coming from the two of you?
No.
I wouldn't want to know what your short
I'm
film
still
would
trying to
be
catch
rated.
my guy Jalen Rose in this space. I'm still trying to catch up to Jalen in this space. I can't try and do other things.
Young fella, take a different path, man. He's going that way. Let's go our own path, man. Let's do something.
Honestly, I'll follow you anywhere, Big.
Okay.
See, there we go.
I'll follow you anywhere.
Boom. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. And, at least for the next hour, we're going to still have them before they go on to their Oscar-winning activities.
Yes.
Two NBA champs, Richard Jefferson, Robert Horry. They made a combined 11 trips to the NBA Finals, and most of them were
here.
But still, very impressive on both counts. Coming up, Stephen A. Smith is stopping by. He's going to tell us whether he thinks the Knicks' 9-game winning streak is something, nothing, or everything. Spoiler alert, it's everything. But first, when we're talking about the big traditional NBA rivalries, Grizzlies-Blazers, it's not exactly Celtics-Lakers, right? Still, there's some bad blood there, just the same. Remember back in 2015 when Portland broke Mike Conley's face? Yeah, it was all blue and black and puffy after that. It was gross. Or you can just forward to last summer in the bubble when the teams matched up in the NBA's first ever play-in game, an affair that turned into an all-out war by the fourth quarter. Remember CJ McCollum's closing kick, scoring over John Morant, and screaming to the 100 or so of us who were in the building that night, quote, "He can't guard me." Well, actually, that's not a direct quote because there was also a significant curse word thrown in there, but to get the point.
What did they say?
I'm going to leave that to your imagination, Richard Jefferson. Bottom line, there is no love lost between the two teams, which means we've seen plenty of spice as they faced each other twice in the past 3 days. There was Friday's Memphis win, which came down to the final minute, included a little back and forth shove sort of elbow thing between Dame Lillard and Dillon Brooks. Lillard later said this, quote, "I told Dillon Brooks, man, you're going to play physical and play how you're going to play, but don't run up to me and do stuff like that. It's going to go one of two ways, and we don't want it to go in that other direction." Okay, message received. And then there was yesterday's game, which, John Morant, very good at the basketball, people. Watch this play from the start.
Once Chris Paul decides to call it a day, it's going to be Ja.
Handles are ridiculous. And then the dunks came. Take a look at this nice one in the third quarter.
Ooh.
Mr. Dunker there.
He just don't care about it.
He did a double pump, and then he also grabbed the ball and hit it on the backboard.
The game was close down the stretch. Memphis did seal it. And afterward, well, this time it was Brooks who did the talking.
I don't think they thought that, we were remembering in the bubble. I poke right back. I talk the whole game. They don't like that. I'm physical. I don't think a lot of guys in the league, see this type of defense. So, I'm bringing it every single night, and I'm trying to rise to the occasion.
They don't think we remembered the bubble. Fantastic. That attitude from Dillon is pretty representative of the entire Grizzlies team right now. The swagger, the hustle, the desire to prove themselves in a season that a lot of folks around the league thought Memphis might be better off tanking. After all, they had Jaren Jackson Jr. out most of the year. He's now finally back. Ja missed 8 games with an ankle injury. Jonas Valanciunas missed a chunk of time due to COVID protocols. And yet, here we are, only a few weeks out from the playoffs, and Memphis is sitting at that 8th spot in the Western Conference standings, just hundreds of percentage points back from, Portland, which is fascinating and not what we expected, not after Dame so brilliantly carried that team in the first half of the season. But it's possible the amount of work that took has caught up with the Blazers now. They've lost 5 straight, 9 of their last 11. And while they will have the chance to put some more air between them and Memphis on Wednesday when the two teams face off yet again, it's certainly possible the standings hold on as is at the end of the season. Because yes, gentlemen, if so, it would be Grizzlies-Blazers and right back in the West primary play-in game. And from what we've seen so far, it could be a whole lot of fun. No, this rivalry is not the second coming of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. But as long as no one else breaks their face, I say, bring it on. Apparently you feel the same way. Robert, what about you? How dangerous does Ja Morant make the Grizzlies in a play-in scenario? What are you doing?
Oh, you know what?
Question I ask you pretty much every day.
Ja is that guy that has no fear. When you talk about no fear, he has no fear. He cares about no one. Think about it. As a rookie, he went at James Harden. He doesn't care. And when you got that kind of no fear, you're going to go out and just play basketball like you want to play, regardless if you're going up against Larry Bird, Magic Johnson,
Dame Lillard, James Harden.
any of the greats. So I like the way this guy plays. He plays with the love and the passion that you want every player in this game to play with.
Now look, I got to set the table a little bit here for a second. One, when I talk about Chris Paul being like a point guard, I look at him as like, I'm going to run the team. I'm going to do the majority of the assists. I'm going to do that. So all you Steph Curry stands, don't start hitting me with Steph. Steph is he's a hybrid two guard, a different type. So as far as setting up his teammates, Dylan Brooks, I love it.
Right?
I love it. Don't ever change. You're right. But when you're playing him again, you get the MJ. It's great to see guys, it's easy to talk trash when you're up a little bit, when the game's tight. Now, if you want to keep that energy starting the game, and I'm not saying that Dylan Brooks is going to change, but that's what makes it fun to watch. It's like, oh, you say these things in the game, then you say in post game, you guys win, you guys earned it. But now the fun part is that next game. Coming up. That's the game to watch.
Because there's certain guys you don't say that to, and Dame Lillard is one of the top 5 guys. You don't say that.
And so that's why I have respect for Dylan Brooks. I have respect for Dylan to be like, hey, I said it, I'll say it again, and we play him in 2 days.
Yep.
And then we get to the MJ. And it's just true. It's just true to see if that's going to be the case. I'm not saying Dame's going to go for 70. I'm not saying Dylan Brooks is going to shy away. But ultimately, the real game comes this next one. They're just like in the postseason. That's what makes these kind of back-to-back games a little bit more fun.
And Damian pointed out after yesterday's game, he said, I'm not a huge trash talker. And that is true, by the way. He just backs it up with his actions, and we've seen the this. So Wednesday's game, and then also if this ends up being the play-in for the West for the 7-8 spot, I think that's going to be awesome. It's really fun to see those teams go at it. Let's move over to Kevin Durant because he returned to the Nets lineup yesterday after missing 3 games with that bruised left thigh. KD came off the bench, which was kind of interesting. 33 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals in 28 minutes. He shot 12-21 from the field, 7 for 8 from the foul line. After the game, he talked about the motivation for coming off the bench. It's only the 3rd time in his career he's ever done it. Take a listen.
Deal with it and adapt to the situation. Coach asked me today if I wanted to start or come off the bench, and I felt like it would be a bigger challenge for me to focus in and lock in if I came off the bench. So I just wanted to see how that worked. And if I would have shot bad, I probably would have been pissed that I came off the bench, but I was able to knock down some shots. And but it was a solid exercise for me to ease back into the swing of things.
I think this whole construction is so interesting because as someone who's a sideline reporter for a lot of games, I will ask coaches when guys have a minutes restriction, why don't you shift it more toward the end of the game? Don't you want them on the court at the end when it matters? And Steve Nash has really worked with Kevin a couple times now to come off the bench. Sean Marks, the GM, told me that Steve actually kind of picked that up from watching so much European soccer, that when guys are on a minutes restriction, they play them more toward the end. But some coaches, they're reluctant to do it because they feel like guys have this pregame routine. They warm up and they're used to going at a certain time. So, Richard, what do you think the Nets should do with Kevin Durant and his workload the rest of this season? They got 11 games left.
No, I'll say this. I did the first game that he came back after missing 25 games. And so we're talking during the game. And you're like, oh, he'll probably come in at the 6-minute mark. Or he'll probably start the second quarter. All of a sudden, it was like halfway through the second quarter. I was like, maybe he had something happen that ultimately, I like what they're doing because so many times we see it where a guy all of a sudden can't play in the last 8 minutes of a game. And you're like, and you see coaches look at the training staff back in the day when we played, it would be like, sit down.
Right.
Now the training staff are walking up and saying, get him out of the game.
Right.
It's a very different setup, but I think they're doing what's right. As long as Kevin Durant is happy, I actually kind of like it. You make them available for the second half, latter part. I think some of the science was more of a guy does this long warm up.
Right.
Don't have him sit down for
cold.
20 minutes, especially if it's soft tissue injury like a hamstring, and then try and gear up in a game that's already moving. So, but I like it. I think they're doing a great job.
I think they're doing a fantastic job with the players nowadays because the science behind it is so much better when we play. And when I was listening to KD, you know how he says exercise. I'm like, dude, exercise. He called this an exercise, man. Like, this is light work for him. And
light work for Kevin Durant.
That's what you have to pick up on. And Kevin Durant is one of these athletes we don't talk about, but he's one of the best players that ever played this game.
Ever. And
when he steps on the court, he makes it look so effortless and so easy. So when you sit back, we both played the 3 spot. Yeah. He just makes you jealous, man. Like, really, dude?
Yeah.
This is exercise to you. It's like you going out there, you scoring 33 off the bench because you wanted to challenge yourself. Okay, next time, do what Kobe Bryant do. Go out and shoot left-handed. Challenge yourself that way.
Well, and look, this is what made Steph and Clay and him so dangerous.
Yes.
Is that Kevin Durant could be Steph Curry. He could, if he just wanted to only shoot threes and try and knock down 10 threes multiple times, but he has so many more facets. That's Steph's weapon of choice. That is his best weapon. That's his go-to. Same with Clay. That three-point line is their go-to weapon. Where Kevin Durant, he has the ability to go and finish, go and dunk on you, go and do so many other things.
But don't forget, he's 7 feet tall and he can get his shot off over anybody.
Yeah, that's what separates him from everybody, because if you look at this today's game, it's 3 or nothing. He's a 3, he's a dunk, he's a mid-range, he's a everything. So,
everything.
Yeah.
And again, 33 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals in 28 minutes. Light work, exercise.
Exercise.
57%.
And there we go. All right, thanks, guys, for the front here. Coming up, we're going to discuss how concerned Lakers fans should be coming off back-to-back losses to the Mavs with 80 absolute bombs from Steph in the first half.
Okay, that one, okay. This one made me upset. This one made me upset.
Are you Buddy Hield?
Why would you? Did you not have cable growing up? Did you not have cable? Don't let him walk it all the way up.
I'm trying to figure out why don't pick him up at half court.
You know you have to. You know what that meant? No, that's not kind of. That's not that one. I'll accept. That one I'll accept. You were guarding him. He did something. The roll up.
The second one though, yeah.
The greatest we've ever seen.
Yeah, that one's okay. It's the other.
The other one. This one right here. That one right here. You don't let him do that.
You don't let him pick it up. Period.
Period.
I've seen guys dive at the basketball just to throw them off. Dive at the basketball. Scare him.
Okay,
do
so
something different.
Here, you're both right, and it would not have made a difference. I'm sorry.
No. True.
Steph's gonna Steph, as we have learned. All right, Miss Safety Help. After a made free throw,
Why
Jokic
am I hearing
takes
this music?
the inbound. You're about to see it.
Stay ready. He's like playing with Jason Kidd. I played with Jason Kidd 2 games and thought I was an all-star because I got the rock when I wanted it, where I wanted it.
It's true. Play games with Jason Kidd.
There's nothing.
No all-star.
There's nothing else. It's him. It's Luka. It's Bron. It's Steph. Certain guys just see the game completely different.
Plus, I grew up a Bullets fan. Wes Unseld with those long outlets. It's just so much fun to see. It's one of my favorite plays in ball. All right, make Hezzies. Suns Nets early on. Kyrie again. Shouts. Sorry, DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
Right?
Are we playing the Caribbean music? Is it a little Barry Belafonte? Is that where we're going?
Dancing.
Okay.
Dancing. All right. How scary do you think it is for bigs when Kyrie gets them out on an island?
And he'll try and do it with his left hand, too. He'll just shoot a floater at the top of the backboard for the left hand. Why?
You're on my
because
island
he
now.
can.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this.
Look at this. Ooh. Oh. Okay, so the Suns lost. The Suns lost to the Nets. No James Harden.
Richard, when you went from playing with Kyrie to playing against Kyrie, was it like, now I got to face?
No, my career was over, so it was at that point in time.
I mean, you were on an NBA team.
Yeah, but I wasn't playing at that point in time. I was done. I only played 1 year and was like, all right, I'm done.
Miss Film Sessions. Let's move on to Bulls Heat. 5-point game, under a minute to go. Denzel Valentine calling his own number, and it did not go well. But Rob, you gotta like the confidence, right?
Hey, sometimes you got to know who you are and look at around the court and say, yo, dude, you're not taking this shot. And you took it like 15 feet behind the 3. What are you doing, young fella? I understand you're trying to make your mark. You're trying to become a big shot. But, hey, do what you do
like
best.
it.
Pass it.
I like it. Look, you see that statement that he's saying? That's what he would have told Kobe Bryant when he was airballing all those shots. No. Stick with it.
You know how I know he didn't tell
with
Kobe
it.
Bryant
They were
that?
on the
Because
same
they
team.
are on the same team.
They were on the same team. I said they weren't on the same team. I'm saying that's what he would have said to Kobe if he would have been on his team. That was my exact statement. I like it, Valentine.
Rough few weeks for the Bulls there, and including in that game. All right, make basketball back to the Bay. Watch Kelly Oubre's free throw distraction tactics, and it worked. Was that like the stanky leg, Richard? What was that?
Drop down, get your eagle on.
Yeah, it's Kelly Oubre.
You know, H-Town finest right there, Kelly Oubre. He know about, trying to do all those distractions, get the eagle on.
I'm just gonna. The eagle on is that.
Come on, man. You don't know who Nelly is? Drop down and get your eagle on, girl.
I know. I say a lot of things. I like the eagle on.
You can't say what you really want to say right there, man.
Look, you know?
Family show.
Next thing you know, you're gonna bust it. Just drop it. Really drop it.
Everyone, again, let's talk about the LA Lakers. Anthony Davis returning to the court for the first time last Thursday after recovering from that calf strain, Achilles tendinosis in his right leg. Now, despite Davis's return, the Mavs swept the Lakers in that little back-to-back series they played. AD played on a minute's restrictions both times. Spoke about the difficulty of returning after such a long layoff. Listen to his comments after Saturday's loss.
It's a rhythm thing, and not being able to play in 9 weeks, 30 games is tough. It's like you're starting over, with the guys, and just trying to find a connection with these guys again. They're trying to find a connection with me, so it's like we're starting from zero, which is tough, so late in the season. But it's something that we have to figure out. Like I said, with no practice time, I had one practice, so the rhythm comes from the games.
All right, so the Lakers have lost 4 of their last 5. They currently sit in 5th place in the West, but they're a game and a half up only on the 6th place Mavericks, who again just won 2 on them, and then 3 above the 7th-seeded Blazers. Robert, you're with the Lakers night in and night out. How concerned should Lakers fans be right now?
I don't think they're that concerned because they're hoping that the Nuggets without Jamal Murray will fall back, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So they're still saying, you know what, we got the best player in the game coming back. So you don't expect LeBron back, and they expect them to get back to being the best team in the West. But if you have to go from a 1 to 5 scale, I'm saying I'm worried about like a 2 because you still have to get that rhythm. You still have to implement AD, not that AD,
the other.
but Andre Drummond. So it's a lot of things going on with this team. You got to think about it. It's not just the players. It's Vogel too. Vogel has to figure out a game plan on who to play and how to play them. So you got to be a little bit worried. So I'm gonna rate it a 2. I think the fans are about a 2 because you do have LeBron.
No, I think it's about a 2 also. But look. LeBron James will be back.
1 through 10, 1 through 5, 1 through 100.
All of them. All of them.
Just
About a 2.
Just
About a 2.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 through 3, it's probably a 2. Let's be honest. But I say this because LeBron James, it was 6 weeks on Saturday from his injury, and it was 4 to 6 weeks. He posted a video of him running, I think it was this morning, so you can see he's close. So if he's at worst another week, or if he's 5 or 6 days, now all of a sudden that's when the process starts. So if they could start building from 5 days from now, I like their chances.
But
6
Richard,
days.
let me ask you, as someone who has played with LeBron, on one hand, he's an easy guy to play with, right? He'll find you. He does so much on the court. But he is different than playing with almost anyone else, and there are new guys on that team this
No one
year.
cares about that. Those
Doesn't
new
matter.
guys. Those new guys. No, but really quickly, there was a conversation that was had. Schroeder said, he goes, when Bron gets back, we're going to all talk as a team and really just discuss like our roles and
That's what I was
sacrificing.
asking you, just getting to the playoffs. Do you have to know who's going to do what? Because
And
he's only
Schroeder
gonna get a
said
few
that.
games
And
in.
Schroeder said that. And I actually think that was great maturity by him to say, look, we understand it, we hear it, and when everybody gets back and playing, that's when we'll address it.
There you go. All right, coming up, we're going to play our favorite game here, Something, Nothing, or Everything, with one of our favorite people,
Who?
Stephen A. Smith.
Who?
We'll discuss the hottest team in the league, the New York Knicks, and the hottest player in the league, Steph
Man
Curry.
walking in here like it's
look
a wild,
who's
wild
here.
west.
Look who's
Look at this
here.
man. Look at this man. The OG in the building.
We'll be back. Hang with us. Woohoo! Favorite game, Something, Nothing, or Everything, with a very special guest. Welcome back to the job, Stephen A. Smith.
I appreciate being with my peeps.
We are
I
always
appreciate
so happy.
miss y'all. It's good to see. Good
So
to see
happy
y'all.
when you're in the building.
Absolutely.
We even made new Something, Nothing, or Everything
Okay,
boards in
okay.
honor of your arrival here.
Okay.
Shouts again to Katie Bodmer. Thank you for
Thanks,
making us
Katie.
look good as always. And first up, it's we could not talk about any other team.
You see
You
him?
being here.
You see him?
The New York Knicks, 9 straight beat the Raptors 120-103 on Saturday, the longest winning streak for the Knicks since the 2013 season, which coincidentally was the last time they made the playoffs. So Stephen A., is the Knicks 9-game winning streak something, nothing, or everything?
Well, first of all, it's everything. All right, it's everything. When you haven't won the title since 1993, when you haven't been relevant since 1973. I apologize, 1973. Okay, and on top of it all, you haven't been relevant for the last damn near quarter century. Of course, it's a big deal. But I also would like to add this: the number one defense in the NBA. They play together. They are building a culture. And by the way, I'm saying it right in front of RJ and right in front of you, right in front of you, 7-time champion. Let me tell y'all something. The more the New York Knicks elevate in their level of relevancy, the more pressure it puts on the Brooklyn Nets to win the chip. Because the Knicks getting to the second round of the playoffs is a better story than Brooklyn going to the finals and losing.
Oh.
You heard it here first.
Oh. Do you think that's true, Robert?
Yeah, he does.
You know what, Stephen A., I will agree with you on that. But I'm also going to say this everything. And it's everything because my boy Julius Randle is getting MVP chance up in MSG. That's what I'm talking about. Julius Randle is taking his game to another level. You know, when you look around this league and you talk about players that have improved, to me, this guy has stepped up tremendously. To me, he gets my vote. If I had a vote, the most improved player.
Yes,
if you
sure.
look what B.I. did last year, who got it, he's doing exactly what Brandon Ingram did. So if he doesn't get it, it'll be a travesty.
This is
Richard?
This is just
Resident News.
This is tragic.
Give it up.
This is tragic.
Give it up.
Look, I'm going because they don't want to hear positive things from me. But I'm going to still say positive things. I am so glad that they have done the things, and I truly believe. It starts with Dolan, then it went to the front office, and then they brought in a coach that was going to run things and wasn't going to take any mess from people up top. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to he was going to hold his ground. He was going to bring in the type of players that he wanted. And then you get a guy like Julius Randle that just has one of the, he's all NBA this year. He's an all NBA player, in my opinion. I said this a couple of weeks ago when they won 5 or 6 games and it looks like they were going to be the playoffs. This is before they went on a 9-game winning streak. So I think, look, all the credit deserves a Knicks. Right. Now, you get the credit and you deserve it, but the job's not done. Keep pushing. Keep pushing.
But by the way, do you realize that Julius Randle's 3-year-old son is a better story than most people in the NBA right now? Just watch
He's hilarious.
He's hilarious. He's hilarious. He's crying, talking about he hates the Nets. Another week he's smiling and blowing kisses. I mean, Julius Randle's son is this dude is a headline.
Was the last time the Knicks lost?
All right. And by the way, I do have a vote. He is the most improved player. I want to say that, number one. And number two, he is a legitimate MVP candidate because they have come out of nowhere. The New York Knicks. New York Knicks.
I want to ask you about the culture that you were just talking about, building the culture. So my thing for the last, 10 years, however long it's been, is you don't get a participation trophy in the NBA. We don't just pat you on the head and say good things about you when you are being, and look, you've said it, there have been times this franchise buffoonery, right, that they have been engaging in. The change that you have seen since Leon Rose, Worldwide West, Tom Thibodeau came in, and the players buying in. Do you feel that the franchise has really made a turn for real?
I believe they have. First of all, James Dolan is not stealing headlines for idiotic reasons.
Yes.
So that goes a long way. Number two, Leon Rose is showing he knows what he's doing, a la Rob Pelinka, even though he got that job not having much of a relationship with James Dolan, while obviously Rob Pelinka had a great relationship with Kobe Bryant as his former agent. Number three, you look at Worldwide West, we all know how connected he is. And we know William Wesley, and we know Scott Perry has been a reputable executive for some time, long overdue getting recognition. But Tom Thibodeau, being the fixture that he is, being a guy that mandates a level of discipline and structure and is about team play, you can't say enough. I'm willing to go so far as this. I think the culture with the New York Knicks at this moment in time is better than the culture at the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not talking about Sean Marks because he's done a sensational job. I'm just talking about in terms of, players, guys being injured, guys being out, guys taking personal leave, stuff like that. The New York Knicks is a bunch of no-names that just showed up, grabbed their lunch pail, went to work, and they're winning basketball games. Right now, the culture with the New York Knicks at the moment is better than the culture for the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets just have superior talent, far superior talent.
Fighting words, though, which I would not expect anything less from you, friend. I want to move on to Steph Curry because he broke James Harden's record for most three-pointers in a single month 85 trades, just 13 games. The month isn't even over yet. They've got 2 more games left in April. So, Robert, is Steph's record-setting month something, nothing, or everything, Big Shot?
And everything Steph does right now is everything is the best, because when you look at Steph's play, he doesn't have his main man, Clay. Draymond is kind of losing a step, and he has to go out there and do it by himself. So this is everything. For him to step up and do what he's doing, to score so many threes at a rate that he's doing. Because think about it. When you have a player like this, you know exactly what he's going to do. He's like, okay, he's going to shoot threes.
Yep.
You can double team him. But it doesn't help because his handles get him out of every situation he can possibly get in. So this is everything. This guy is, like another MVP candidate right here, and he might be the number one for me.
No, look, I think it's something. I wouldn't say it's everything, mainly because when you look at the record that he is about to break, or past James Harden, when you look at that, it's like, this is the way the game is trending. So James Harden,
because of him.
No, I understand that, but James Harden held the record. James Harden held the record. It's not because we've seen enough three-point records where it's Steph beating his own record. Right? This was something that it was like James Harden, what he did for a month and what he did over that season was just remarkable. And then Steph was like, hey, give me that record back. I need that back. So I think this is something. I think it would be everything if this was getting them to the number 1 seed, or if this was something that was going to vault them to the next level. That's how he won the unanimous MVP. So I think it's something. It's not everything.
It's not everything. It's something.
Okay.
It's not everything because you look at Steph Curry and you see him, the marksmanship, the extraordinary sniper-like tendencies that he has, and then you just sit up there and say, this is the greatest shooter God has ever created. I've never seen anybody that can shoot the ball like this. And then you go to his numbers, and you see him averaging 31, and you see him shooting 49% from the field, and you see him shooting 43% from three-point range. And then you go to his stats, career-wise, and you see the numbers aren't any different than what he customarily does. Then you look at somebody like the great Damian Lillard, who I'm a huge fan of. And we made a big deal over the fact that Damian Lillard shot better than 40% from three-point range, I believe it was last year. And then I looked at Steph's numbers, and he's never shot less than 40% from three-point range in his career, with the exception of last year when he only played 5 games before the season was interrupted by the bubble. That is the only time in the career of Steph Curry that he has shot worse than 40% from three-point range. This brother is something special. God just gives you certain gifts, and when it comes to him, his gift is shooting. He's so great as a shooter. Anybody whose name is Curry that can't shoot will be exiled from a conversation. We won't like them because we were like this. Who's your relatives? How could you have this last name and you're missing shots? That's how great Steph Curry is. And when Klay Thompson gets back healthy next year, God willing, I'm telling you right now, the Golden State Warriors at the very least will be in the conference finals.
Ooh.
At the very least.
You buy that?
I don't buy that one, Steve. I love you, dog, but I don't buy that.
How?
Because he's in the West, big dog. He's in the West. Okay, but here's the thing. Also, when a guy comes back from injury, Klay has come back from 2 devastating injuries. It's going to be hard for him to get back to being Klay. I love Klay. He's one of the best defenders in the league.
I'm not denying that.
Draymond Green is losing step. Wiseman, we don't know what's going to happen out of Wiseman, so they're not going to have the crew. They're going to be
I'm only talking about if he's healthy. That's all I'm about.
We're going to continue this conversation. Stick with us. Here's what the Jump recommends for today. Check out the latest NBA Power Rankings on the ESPN app. We've got new faces in the top 5 this week. After the break, well, these guys are going to continue their conversation in the commercial. We will actually. I think they might need to do a little more with.
They need more. They need more.
They need more.
I really believe that with Wiggins, if he grows, I don't know what's going to happen.
He's been growing for 5, 6, 10 years.
I'm just talking about within the
one
role.
Of these draft picks they've got coming up.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'd give Wiggins away for a bag of cookies. And I'm going to tell you why. Not because of his talent, but there's something about him that says he doesn't want it. It's a job. It's a job.
I feel like that's changed a little bit since he got to Golden State.
I'll give him credit for that. But Klay with Steph, you have any idea how that opens up the floor for everybody else? Please.
Right.
Please. Conference finals.
Make a move.
Conference finals.
I can see them making the conference finals.
Bet dinner.
There we go. Dinner on the most up-to-date NBA futures odds, according to Caesars William Hill.
That's who they want you to bet on.
The current favorite to win the title. Yes, Richard, we always make the point. This is who they think they can take money on, but they're only slightly ahead of the Lakers, who are followed by the Jazz and Clippers. So, Robert, I love being able to say this sentence. So, Robert, you've been on 7 title teams. That's just like the most fun sentence in TV, isn't it? You've won 7 rings. Which team do you trust the most right now? I love this question.
I'm going to have to go with nobody right now, man. Because it's the thing, because the reason I say that because of injuries. Lakers got injuries. And look at the Nets. This guy's out, and then that bug called COVID-19. You don't know what's going to happen with that and how everybody's going to start traveling out. Fans are going to come in the arenas more. There's so many different things that could happen with that. So I don't really trust anybody right now until we get down to the finals and we see where everybody's seated and we know what's going to happen with the protocol. If there's going to be a bubble, I know it's not, but hey, I'm waiting to see.
In television, you got to make a choice, my brother.
Tell him.
All right, so I'm going to make it for you. It's the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm going to tell you why. It's not about LeBron, because I completely trust him. AD and that calf, okay, is eerily similar to what happened to KD years ago in the playoffs before he showed up in the finals and then it ripped. I'm praying that doesn't happen to AD. I don't wish that on anybody. I love the guy, but I'm scared.
You got a lingering
As it pertains to the Brooklyn Nets, I think KD gonna be ready. And one or the other, Harden or Kyrie, if not both, are gonna be ready. And listen, I've been on the record. You ain't winning. You ain't coming out of the East with just Harden and Kyrie. You ain't coming out of the West, the East. I'm sorry, with them. But whoever has KD, you gonna be all right. And that's what I'm telling you. The Brooklyn Nets, because of Kevin Durant, again, when we talk about Steph Curry, comes in the second quarter yesterday, drops 33. We didn't care because it's KD.
Yep.
That's why we're not concerned. Because of KD in the East. The combination of the two, Nets are the better bet.
Gosh, as much as I love to disagree with you,
You can't.
You can't, because this is the thing. When you look at the Lakers and their balance, but the Nets' balance is starting to look very
Joe Harris,
Joe
Jeff
Harris,
Green.
Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. Like you're starting to look and look
Nick
even
Claxton,
but
come on,
they
give
have
us
a
that
lot
out.
of talent there. I will say this: the injury that Anthony Davis is trying to get through is very different than soft tissue injuries like James Harden, like Kevin Durant, like those little soft tissue. If you had to pick one, with both LeBron and AD missing so much time and having played in a month, I know Anthony Davis back, you got to say the Nets, but not by much.
And the
not by much.
And the undeniable element is this. We can say what we want. I don't like Kyrie's personal days. I'm not talking about the last personal day. I'm talking about the previous ones where he didn't tell us what was going on and he just said he needed to turn time off. No, not after 9 months off. You don't need time off 3 weeks into the season. Having said all of that, this brother is arguably the greatest show in the NBA. His skills are so nasty, and he lives for the postseason to show up. He will show up in the postseason. He will be ready.
All right, so let me distill the question down to just the West, right?
Sure.
So the Nets are the team you trust most overall. That makes them the team you trust most in the East. What about the West? Who do you trust most in the West?
The Lakers because of LeBron James.
That's it.
LeBron James. Listen, I cannot applaud the man enough. 36 years of age, 18th year in the league, and up until this injury hadn't missed a game. He's not somebody because of nicks and knacks or a day of rest takes time off. He is the marquee. He knows the responsibility that comes along with it. You played with the Kobes of the world. You played with stars before, including LeBron. Obviously, you and I have covered the league for decades. Guys that accept that responsibility and show up, I can't say enough about them. We love this league because of guys like them. LeBron is that dude. And when I look at Kawhi Leonard, I would pick the Clippers if I know he'll be there to come playoff times. But the roller coaster that is the regular season and his unwillingness to prioritize that the way that he should, I think they'll come back to pay for it. And I think that the Clippers will come up short. I'm praying for a Clippers-Lakers battle because it's owed to us by Kawhi, who did not show up because they gave him a 3-1 lead in the semifinals last year. LeBron was waiting after he had the dead commercial, the crown dangling from his convertible, all that stuff with the New Balance commercial, and then he didn't show up. He owes us this. But LeBron and the Lakers are more trustworthy out west.
Yes. You know, they're the defending champs, first of all, and they got 2 of the top 10 players in the league. So I agree with you on that, Steve. And since you're making me pick someone I trust, it's going to be the Lakers. You got to trust the Lakers because they're the defending champs. And like you said, they got LeBron James and that culture. We always talk about culture. It ain't nothing like it. Winning a championship in a Laker uniform.
I've always called you brilliant. I've always called you
I do want to see a Lakers-Clippers matchup, though, because the Clippers look really good to me.
You
right
have to
now.
make it happen.
So I'm going to work
Rachel.
on it.
You have to make it happen.
The Staples Center's right across the
You know,
street.
don't be neutral
I'll
on this.
work
You
on
have to
it.
demand that both LA teams show up. You
gonna
could do
work
it,
on it.
Rachel Nichols. You could do it. You got the clout.
Stephen A., who, by the way, your old days at the Philadelphia Inquirer, my old days at the Washington Post, I have been honored ever since to be next to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get you back here soon.
Rich, I know
Thank you.
I didn't mean to depress you, Rich. I know I'm talking about your Nets. I know the word Nets. You know, you don't like
But it was like it went from like it
I got
was
promo
like
your
Nets
show.
and
Look at
Lakers
the bottom
and
there.
Nets and
Stephen A's
Knicks.
World. Listen, well, you should watch this if you're not watching it.
I
It's
do
on
watch
ESPN
it.
Plus. It's fantastic. Watch it.
He
And
doesn't
again,
wanna
of
watch me talk
course,
about the Nets, though.
the
He doesn't wanna
pregame
watch.
show.
He's sensitive about the
Also,
Nets.
up next on this show, the Pelicans currently on the outside looking into the play-in.
It's about
Do
the
we
Knicks.
expect Zion to will them